Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel. This is Tanush. So today we'll be discussing about a very important topic, which is the importance of Jupiter in a chart. So we'll be discussing about what are the effects of debilitated Jupiter in a chart. So what kind of problems this kind of people they face, and I'll be speaking about a very general remedy, which is the most effective remedy, at least in my experience, and in the experience of my teacher, my astrology teacher, who's a very respected gentleman, very aged gentleman, has a lot of experience, right? So let's get started. Now, the planet Jupiter is known as Guru in Sanskrit, right? So the word Guru has a lot of significance because Guru is the teacher. Guru is a person who shows us the path, right? And Jupiter represents optimism, it represents expansion, many auspicious things, higher learning, teachers, marriage, children, finance, a truckload of things Jupiter represents, right? And suppose a person has, bad chart, or, two or three houses are severely damaged, and suppose Jupiter is sitting in a good sign, comfortable, and aspecting those houses, then Jupiter has that capacity to mitigate the issues to a larger extent. For example, if the seventh house of a person is severely debilitated, the Lord of the seventh house is debilitated, or seventh house is under Papkartari Yoga, or the person is destined to have a very bad marriage, right? Suppose Jupiter is sitting in the ascendant, or in the third house, or in the 11th house, and aspecting the 7th house. So when Jupiter aspects the 7th house, it actually does the damage control. So the marriage would surely be tough, it would not be so easy, but the marriage would actually last, right? So it has that capacity to do that damage control. So suppose Jupiter is aspecting your 10th house, then it actually protects your career. It will give you that that optimism, that growth in the career. So that is how important Jupiter is, right? And in Sanskrit it is called as Guru because Guru is actually responsible for giving us the higher teachings, showing us the path. And there is a wonderful pastime in Srimad Bhagavatam. So Brihaspati, or Jupiter, the personification of Jupiter, is considered to be the spiritual master or guru of the Devatas, and Shukracharya is considered to be the spiritual master of the Asuras. So Asuras, in the sense, those who don't follow the path of Dharma, right? So they are called as Asuras. Now eternally there is always a conflict between this Devatas and Asuras, and that goes on. So once what happens is Indra, who is the king of all the demigods, and the king of heaven. So he was actually sitting in his assembly, enjoying all different kinds of entertainment, and he got that feeling that I'm so important, because he really holds a very important portfolio, and he is surely a respectable person, a very important person, and he had that feeling, and somewhere he had that pride in him that I'm such an important person. And when he was in his assembly, enjoying different kinds of entertainment, different kinds of food, gratifying his senses, at that point of time, the guru of Devatas, Brihaspati, he comes in, and Indra notices that Brihaspati has come in, but he doesn't respect him because he feels that I'm so important, I'm such an important person. And Brihaspati, he sees that Indra has not acknowledged him, so he doesn't actually say anything. He just leaves the place. Silently he leaves the place. And the moment he leaves, at that moment it strikes to Indra that I have done an offense towards my spiritual master, and I'm bound to face the reaction for it. And eventually the story goes on, wherein the Asuras, they please their spiritual master Shukracharya so much, and they gain a lot of strength, right? And they attack the Devatas, and ultimately Indra is defeated, and then we have a long story wherein actually Lord Vamandev had to come actually to give the kingdom back to Indra. So that is how important the position of Guru is, right? Now, Guru shows us the spiritual path, the higher learning, right? And also, it shows us the way for us to live a comfortable life, keeping our focus on the higher principles of life, right? Now, suppose that Guru is debilitated. Now, Guru is debilitated in the sign of Capricorn, and Capricorn is the natural 10th house. So let us for a minute or so, let us discuss why is Jupiter debilitated in the sign of Capricorn. Like we discussed, Jupiter is a planet of higher learning, right? Higher learning, higher education, higher principles, living a very sattvic or life in the mode of goodness, right? And Capricorn is controlled by Saturn, and Saturn demands, like we saw in many previous videos, Saturn demands hard work, right? Hard work, dedication, being disciplined, being organized, work extremely hard. And Jupiter actually doesn't like that, because Jupiter has a different kind of portfolio. It is there to teach us the higher learnings, wherein how a person can lead a simple and happy life, focusing on the higher principles of spirituality, and make sure that a person doesn't take birth in this material world again. So that is the main name of Jupiter, right? So Jupiter doesn't like struggling in this material world for basic necessities, because Jupiter is meant for higher education, for a different purpose altogether, a higher purpose. And that is why Jupiter is very irritated when it is in the sign of Capricorn, and hence it is said that Jupiter is debilitated in the sign of Capricorn, right? And the natural 10th house is ruled by Saturn and co-ruled by Mercury as well. Now, what happens when Jupiter is debilitated? So Jupiter is the Karaka for some of the very important houses in astrology. So the houses are the 2nd house, the 5th house, the 7th house, 9th house, and 11th house, right? So these are very, very important houses, right? And we'll see, what each house signifies and what Jupiter signifies with respect to those houses, right? Now, 2nd house is our family. 2nd house is our savings, our monetary gains, right? And Jupiter is Karaka for that. So when Jupiter is debilitated, then a person will not will be born in a family where the family conditions are not so conducive, meaning the family is not well connected. They don't have that good feeling towards each other, and probably they even try to harm each other. So a person is born in those kind of circumstances, and the person will make money, but saving money will be extremely difficult for the person, really difficult, right? And because 2nd house also represents our speech, so the speech of such a person will not be so intelligent, right? And many other things related to 2nd house which we can go on speaking, but these are the most important things. Now, coming to 5th house, we all know 5th house is our Purva Punya Bhava, right? So it is the good karma which we have accumulated in our past life, and it is considered to be one of the most important houses. It is the house of intellect. It is the house of children, of learning, of education, right? So when Jupiter is debilitated or in conjunction with Rahu or other malefics, or sitting in a very bad position, then a person will have to struggle for his or her education, right? Even the undergraduation education, the person will struggle. And I have seen a common trend wherein there will be gaps in education, so the person will have to take gap, so there will not be a continuous, smooth, seamless education for this kind of people. So they'll have to take breaks. So either they fail in that year, or due to some reason, maybe lack of resources, maybe due to bad health, multiple reasons, the person will have to take break. So break for 1 year or 2 years. So that is common. The person will have difficulty in conceiving children, right? So I mean, many other things. So I don't want to scare you guys. So just take this with a pinch of salt, as they say. But what I'm talking is actually from the text. Person will actually have to struggle to conceive and to have children, or they'll be delayed, or the person will have miscarriages, and after that, with a lot of struggle, then a person will conceive. Fifth house also represents our speculation, our talents. So the person will be impacted on those fronts as well, right? Now coming to seventh house we all know is the house of marriage, and if Jupiter is debilitated, the marriage will not be a peaceful one, right? It will always be a turbulent marriage, and Jupiter is Karaka of marriage in the child of woman, in the chart of woman, right? So for woman, Jupiter represents husband, and if a woman has a debilitated Jupiter, or Jupiter in a bad spot, or Jupiter in conjunction with Rahu, then surely that person will have to go through divorce. So the first marriage will never work for that person, and the second marriage will be much better as compared to the first marriage. So that is what Jupiter signifies, multiple marriages, because marriages won't work. And if Jupiter is very bad, then they just go through different relationships, and then they're never satisfied. So unless there is some benefic aspect of say Venus or some other planet. So in Vedic astrology, my Western viewers may not actually know this, but this is one thing which you can do. This helps a lot, right? So if you have a debilitated Jupiter, and if you are going to get married, then as per one of the solutions or remedies, we suggest something known as Kumbha Vivaha. So it's a kind of a very simple ritual wherein a person is kind of married. Not with a person, it's just a ritual. So they do some rituals as per the Vedic tradition, and after that the person can actually get married. So the concept behind that is that first marriage is already done, and then the person can go ahead with the second marriage. So this is a common thing which many astrologers suggest, and it really works. So if the seventh house is bad or retrograde, with different aspects, so if you have that, please do that, right? So for my Western viewers, if you have that, you can visit any Hindu temple in the West, in US, or wherever you stay, and you can tell the priest that you want to get this Kumbha Vivaha ceremony to be done, and they do it. So it's a very simple one. Probably it will take only 1 hour, and but it helps you a lot. Right? Now marriages won't last. Now coming to business partnership, the business partnership never works, and the person is generally cheated. So the person will get a partner who will always cheat, right? And in marriage, suppose a woman has a debilitated Jupiter, then the husband, what the woman gets is not very intelligent and does not have any morals or values in life. Generally, it's seen that they are kind of immoral, right? Unless there is a niche bhanga happening, then the scenario changes a lot. Jupiter is Karaka of 9th house, and this I have seen, and if you have this placement, then you have to be very careful. Jupiter is the Karaka of 9th house. 9th house represents higher learning and spirituality, and I have seen people with debilitated Jupiter, or Jupiter in conjunction with Rahu. So when Jupiter is in conjunction with Rahu, that is known as Chandal Yoga. it's also considered to be very bad. And I've seen this kind of people, when they want to actually take to spirituality, or follow some spiritual path, generally they get gurus who are actually cheaters. And the problem is, this kind of people who have a bad placement of Jupiter, they don't listen to advice of friends or relatives or parents who actually mean good for them. So I have seen this. I know a person who is actually doing this, and is in a very bad position today, right? So they get gurus who are swindlers, who actually try to cheat on them, who cheat them, who utilize them, who actually take away probably their money, or utilize the resources. They kind of exploit this kind of people, and this kind of people, they get exploited very easily. They naturally get attracted to people who are quite immoral, and that is a common thing which I have seen for people with debilitated Jupiter, or Jupiter in conjunction, especially with Rahu and some other placements of Jupiter. So be very careful if you have this this kind of Jupiter or this kind of conjunction. Then make it a habit to listen to your parents, your elders, or listen to opinions of others with an open mind. Try to think upon those opinions. Don't just try to disregard the opinion. I have seen they don't want to listen anything. They just, it's like, I'm following this path, this is the right path. Just listen. Try to introspect whether the path which I'm following is the right one, whether the person whom I'm following is the right one, because there are many genuine gurus out there. And people who have a wonderful guru or guru placed in very good spots, they generally automatically get gurus who are actually quite genuine, who help them to progress on the spiritual path, right? Next, coming to the 11th house, Jupiter is also Karaka for 11th house. So 11th house, first thing I want to discuss is about network circle. So if your Jupiter is in conjunction with Rahu, having Chandalyo, then your network circle will be very bad, right? And you will naturally be attracted to people who have this addictions, to alcohol or to drugs, or many other things. So they are kind of naturally attracted to them, and there is a natural bonding which happens with this kind of people, and they are kind of very happy being there, and they are spiritually actually degraded, and their life goes very tough. They realize at a very later stage of life that I have committed a mistake by having this kind of people. So a natural affinity would be there to get connected to people who are into very bad habits, like drugs, prostitution, right? Many other things, because the list is long, I don't know to get into it. Second thing is the returns from your business or from your job. This kind of people, they generally have issues with authority, following authority, and generally they getting promotion. I mean, they might get, it's not that, because if the 11th house lord is well placed and if the dasha is going on, surely they'll get promotion and everything, but they'll not be able to sustain that promotion, or the kind of respect they get from their position. They cannot sustain that for a long period of time. Eventually it will go away due to either the bad habits, or due to your nature, or many other things. So that is one thing. So now the point to note is the 11th house and the 2nd house, these both are wealth giving houses, and if the Jupiter is debilitated or in conjunction with Rahu, and if Neech Bhanga is not happening, and if there is no benefit aspect on 2nd, 11th house or Jupiter, then you might earn good amount of wealth in your life, but eventually you will start losing it, right? So this is how quite briefly what happens if Jupiter is debilitated, right? So now coming to the third part, what to do if Jupiter is debilitated. Now, first thing is, because as I said, these kind of people, they have a natural tendency not to take advice from people who actually mean good for them, right? So like their parents or friends who actually they are concerned about them. So my suggestion is, have an open mind, try to listen to them, what they are saying, try to introspect whether what they are saying is correct. Is there any truth in that? If so, then you will have to actually get into the details, try to analyze yourself, have an open mind. Don't go with that attitude of like my way or highway. It's like I don't listen to anyone. I know people who get into this sort of things and don't listen to anyone, right? So have open mind, try to get advice from good people. That is first thing. Second, if you are following a spiritual path, that is wonderful, but make sure it's worth it. It's worth the time, the energy, the resources which you are involving, or you are dedicating to that spiritual path, because spiritual path is very, very important, right? To avoid the degradation of our soul. It's very important, and that is the purpose of human life, right? So you have to be very careful, right? And if see, the role of Jupiter is so important that in Srimad Bhagavatam there is a verse that Guru na sasyat, swajani na sasyat, pita na sasyat, janani na sasyat. So it says that mother and father are the foremost guru for a child, because when the child is born, the child doesn't know anything, and it is the parents who impart the basic knowledge to the children. So what is good, what is bad, how to be in the society. So all that initial foundation is laid down by a mother and father, and hence they are also considered guru in our Vedic tradition, right? So and Srimad Bhagavat, and then next comes the teachers, and then the spiritual master. So spiritual master is a very, very important position, very responsible position, because they are representatives of Brihaspati, the Guru himself, because they impart the higher knowledge, the knowledge with which a person will not have to take birth in this material world, right? And so that is how important Guru is. So Srimad Bhagavatam, this verse says that Guru na sasyat. So one has no right to become a guru, a mother, a father, a relative, or friend, if a person is not able to help a person to get out of this material world, right? So if they are not able to impart those higher values into the children, then the parents have no right actually to beget a children, to beget a child, because the foremost responsibility is to teach the child how not to take birth in this material world again, right? So in addition to all the material education which we give, this is also equally important, or it is more important. But nowadays we are completely neglecting, and this is becoming even more prominent in Indian society, Indian culture. The complete focus is on education, right? So whether my child will become a doctor or an engineer, whether my child will travel abroad, whether my child will earn a lot of money, he'll become a scientist, earn a lot of money. So what happens? It's good. I mean, parents should be concerned about that, surely. But along with that, you also need to inculcate that good character, the values, and those values, the character just doesn't come like that. It comes with the spiritual foundation. Like Jesus says that don't make house in this material world, because don't make treasure in this material world, because the treasure in material world is eaten by moth, corroded by rust, and stolen by thieves, right? So every sane religion, they actually tell the same thing, that we have to inculcate spiritual practice. And the person who has a good guru, either guru in a very good spot, exalted, or in a decent sign and decent house, then naturally, because of his previous pious karma, the person will actually get a family which is following dharma. The person will get people who follow dharma. The person will get, he or she is exposed to teachers or friends who follow the path of dharma, the real path, not being extremists or following a wrong path, because there are many people who say that they are gurus and they generally teach all wrong doctrines, and they try to manipulate the shastras, and ultimately we get cheated, right? So coming to the remedy part, have an open mind, introspect whether the spiritual path if you're following is the right one or not, and do that with an open mind, right? Whether the teachings of that particular guru is in line with what the scriptures are saying, with what Bhagavad Gita is saying, because Bhagavad Gita is the ultimate book of the dharma, right? So I'm not talking about any religion, because Bhagavad Gita doesn't talk about religion. Bhagavad Gita talks about the real spiritual path, the connect of the soul with the super soul. That's what Bhagavad Gita teaches us, right? So and it is said Krishnam ekam jagat gurum. So Krishna is the original guru of everyone, right? And Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita that Ishvara sarva bhutanam riddeshe arjuna tishtati brahmayan sarva bhutani yantra arudhani mayaya. So Krishna says that I am in heart of all the living entities, let it be human, let it be animal, aquatics, mosquitoes, any living entity. Krishna says I am present in the heart. And when a person has a genuine intention of following a spiritual path, Krishna says that I direct that person's wandering towards a genuine path. So if we try to follow some spiritual path with wrong intention, then the Lord automatically directs us towards this kind of people, because we have many today. Anywhere you go, to west, you go to east, you go to any other part of world, we have many people who are out there to cheat, and there are many people who are actually teaching us the right path as well, right? So do that. Now obviously there are many astrological remedies wherein people ask us to chant the Brihaspati mantra, which is very good, which you can do, and you have to do this on daily basis, because your Jupiter is basically debilitated or in conjunction with Rahu or other malefics in your original birth chart. So that particular prediction for Jupiter is for lifelong, so you have to do it for lifelong. Now the second thing is the mantra which I recommend is for Jupiter is I'll put down in the description section. It's little lengthy, but Devanam cha Rishinam cha Gurun Kanchan Sannibam Buddhi Bhutam Trilokesham Tam Namami Brihaspatim. So it's a very wonderful mantra, and it works, and that is what I suggest to everyone. Third is, I would suggest try to read Bhagavad Gita and chant the names of Krishna, because Krishna is the original guru, right? So when we chant the names of Krishna and when we read Bhagavad Gita, we get that actual higher knowledge which Jupiter wants us to learn, right? And when we are actually learning this higher knowledge, then Jupiter is very pleased with us. Jupiter says that, wow, you are doing the right thing, and I am here to teach you this. So now that you are doing the right thing, I'll withdraw my malefic effect. Just go ahead with what you are doing, follow the right path, and that is what Jupiter intends to do, teaches the higher principles, right? So if we voluntarily take up the spiritual path, especially read Bhagavad Gita, chant the names of Krishna, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, or Hare Krishna mantra, which is very powerful for this Kali Yuga, the mantra prescribed for this Kali Yuga. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So that is the mantra. Then Jupiter, he gets very happy. He gets quite satisfied that, oh, you have learnt your lesson. So I'm not going to trouble you anymore. So just follow that. He's very happy. So that works. And the third ultimate remedy is, to read Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the chapter of Lord Vaman, because Brihaspati is considered, the devotee of Vamandev, because Vamandev is the original guru who imparts that knowledge. So I generally tell in my consultation, whoever has this debilitated Jupiter, to read Srimad Bhagavatam, especially the part of Lord Vamandev on Thursdays, especially on Thursdays, and daily probably for 10 or 15 minutes. So do this, and you have to do this for your life, because you have been born with some very bad past karma. And why generally it is said that a person who has a debilitated Jupiter, or Jupiter in conjunction with Rahu or other malefics, because they have done some guru aparadh, meaning they have actually cheated on their guru in previous life. They have done some, something very bad to guru, or they have actually cheated many people on the pretext of spirituality. So this kind of people, when they get the human form of life, they are born with a debilitated Jupiter. Now, if you have Neech Bhanga in your chart, then obviously, Jupiter is getting that support needed to come out of debilitation. So, what you can do is, you can do both the remedies. Do remedy for Jupiter, and do the, try to strengthen the planet which is pulling Jupiter out of debilitation, which is doing the Neech Bhanga of Jupiter. Then your Jupiter will become very, very powerful, or it will become at least positive and not impact you in a negative way. And if Jupiter is positive, then a person will lead a very happy life. And I forgot to tell this, but Jupiter is also Karaka for many health issues. But the main health issue, because Jupiter is the guru, right? And which is the main organ in our body? It is the digestive system. Because if the digestive system is impacted, all other organs, they'll follow the path. They'll actually get impacted one after another, right? So Jupiter is Karaka for liver. So you can see that any person who has debilitated Jupiter, if the person goes through Jupiter Mahadasha, the person will have issues with liver, either fatty liver or extreme cases I have seen. Recently I have seen a person who has liver cirrhosis. The person is going for liver transplant. So, and many other things like weak digestion, IBS, many other things, issues related to colon, ulcers, spleen, issues related to spleen. So Jupiter is the Karaka for digestive system, right? So if the digestive system is impacted, obviously many other things will come. So do these remedies, and your digestive system will not be impacted. Now finally I would say Jupiter is the Karaka for our intelligence. It represents our higher learning. It represents our fine intelligence to understand things which are beyond the material realm. So also obviously the material education as well, because Jupiter is Karaka for 9th house, which also represents our higher education, post graduation studies, right? So if a person has a good Jupiter, obviously the person will be the person will pursue some sort of post graduation, some MTech or MCA, or some PhD or something. The person will obviously pursue that kind of studies. So friends, I'll end this video with the note that, again, I'll just reiterate that especially women who have debilitated Jupiter, or Jupiter in a bad spot in an enemy house, or in conjunction with Rahu. So, and it is somehow related to your 7th house, or it may not be related as well. Go for go for this remedies before you start this before you get married, so that you will not have to face issues in your marriage, right? So guys, thank you so much for watching my video. You can write your comments on if you understand anything, or if you want to add to this. I'll be back with another video soon. If you like the video, please subscribe to my channel. Thank you so much.